Alright you guys, I really didn't want to make this video since I've made about 1,000 Twitter threads about it already, but you know what? Apparently it's still being discussed, so let's just go ahead, get right into the video. Is it transphobic to not want to date a trans person? No. Why? Because everybody has dating preferences. This is honestly one of the most ridiculous arguments I have seen come from trans activism, and that is saying a lot. Listen, if you're gonna be mean to someone, if you're gonna treat someone poorly because they're trans, yeah, that's transphobic. You know what isn't transphobic is not wanting to date someone, not being attracted to someone because they're trans. Attraction is very biological. That is why we have sexual orientations. That is why we have straight, that is why we have gay, that is why we have bi. I'm not saying being attracted to trans people is its own sexual orientation. I know straight people, I know gay people, I know bi people, I know everybody in the sexuality world who is attracted to trans people. However, trans people are not biologically the same as cis men and women. They are not. If you want to have an argument about this, you better have some pretty damn good scientific evidence to back it up, because I'm so done listening to feelings over facts. And we're all adults. We all know that not every single trans person is this cutout copy of one another. I don't think anybody is implying that besides actual transphobes. I'm gonna say something that I can't fucking believe is controversial. Trans men are biologically female. Yes, it's true. I am biologically female. Just because I wish really, really hard that I wasn't doesn't mean that I'm not. You know, I can transition to male, I can transition socially, I can transition medically, I can pass as male in society, I can be male for all intents and purposes, right? I cannot reproduce the way that cis men can. I cannot have a penis the same way cis men can. I cannot have the same chromosomes cis men can. These are just to name a few. Obviously, there's many more that varies from every individual, but trans men as a group are different from cis men, right? I've not heard one single argument with any scientific merit whatsoever that says that trans men and cis men are basically the same, so not dating trans men is transphobic. If the only difference between trans men and cis men is that trans men had the label trans, then yeah, sure, it would be transphobic. Why not? That's the definition, right? Discriminating solely against trans people for being trans. However, there are biological differences between cis people and trans people. Like, you guys, like, come on. And a lot of the times, these differences aren't a deal breaker to people. A lot of times people will be like, okay, so you're trans, but that's not really a big deal to me, so I'm gonna date you anyways. And then there are going to be people who say, oh, no thanks, I don't date trans people because they are too biologically different from cis people and I would rather date a cis person. That is not transphobia. That is literally dating preference. We can't help our preferences. We can't help who we're attracted to. Attraction is fucking weird and it's messy and it doesn't make sense on paper. If a guy wouldn't date a girl with long hair, if a guy only dated girls with short hair, would he be long hair phobic? Just because he is only attracted to girls with short hair? I feel like that was a bad analogy, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? Like, if you're looking for something in a partner and they don't have it and you reject them because of that, that isn't anything phobic. And I keep seeing people say, well, it's not transphobic if you reject trans people for not being able to have biological children, but it is transphobic if you reject them for being trans. It's the same fucking thing! No trans people can have biological children the same way that cis people can. Yes, you can still have biological children if you freeze your eggs or if you save your sperm or whatever, but trans women cannot have babies the same way that cis women can. Trans men cannot have babies the same way cis men can. Like, this isn't, like, I feel like this is the most basic biology. Like, I'm at a loss for words when we can't even bring science into it, because if you're dismissing science, then anything you say can be true because nothing is objectively true anymore. You're basically just twisting words to mean what you want them to mean and ignoring objective truths. That is not productive, that doesn't do anything to help anyone, and it just makes the trans community look like a bunch of whiny babies. If a girl rejected me because I was trans, if a girl rejected me because I didn't have a dick, if a girl rejected me because I can't make sperm and have babies with her, would I take it personally? A little bit, maybe, but I wouldn't call her transphobic. It would hurt, yeah, but just because my feelings are hurt doesn't mean that the truth suddenly means something else. This is what trans people have to understand, that it doesn't matter if your feelings are hurt. The truth is the truth. Some things can't be changed no matter how hard you wish them to be changed. Not to mention that this argument started to get trans people more accepted, but all it does is it pushes us farther away from society because it's just pissing people off. Like, imagine you weren't attracted to trans people and someone came up to you and called you transphobic because you won't date a trans person. Even though you literally cannot help that you're not attracted to them, you're still being called a transphobe anyways. Like, wouldn't that piss you off? Wouldn't that just make you say, well, I want nothing to do with the trans community then if they're gonna be like this? And then trans activists say, well, we don't need your fake allyship. I'm pretty sure the entire point of trans activism is to get cis people to accept us. And yes, we do have to meet them halfway if we do want to get accepted into society fully. And that is a hard truth that nobody in this movement is willing to admit, but it is one that needs to be said. Another thing is, some trans people won't even date trans people. I have trans friends who would not date another trans person. Does that make them transphobic? It's just a preference, and trans people have differences from cis people that some people are just not willing to take on. I have plenty of friends that know me for who I am, treat me as an individual, treat me fairly as a person, and wouldn't treat me any differently than a cis person, but they still wouldn't date me because they're not attracted to trans people. They don't think any less of me for it, I don't think any less of them for it, because personally, it's none of my business who they date, it's none of my business who they're attracted to, and it's none of your business either. So can we please stop throwing the word transphobia around like candy? If everything is transphobic, nothing is transphobic, and that creates a huge problem when trying to pass actual rights for trans people, when trying to actually protect us. If you disagree with me and have an actual argument, please feel free to comment below. I will do my best to read all the responses, but if you are just going to twist the truth to fit your agenda, I don't want to hear it. As always, honesty is the best policy. Honesty is how we grow. Please be honest with yourselves. Please be honest with others. Please speak up when you don't see something right. That is all for this week's video, you guys. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next time.